The next chapter we're going to be covering is attacking from that 2-on-1 position. I've heard it called a whole bunch of other things like laser guard, but I don't think I'm cool enough to be able to call it a laser guard, so I just call it a 2-on-1. My favorite way to get there is from the shallow lasso spider position here, and all I'm doing is letting go of this sleeve, doubling up on the sleeve grip here so I make sure I have a really good connection to his hand, adjusting my foot on the bicep to the shoulder, bringing this foot out, and grabbing the tricep here. One important detail that I really like too is I try to make a point to bring his hand to the outside of mine, so that way he can't grip my collar again. Laser guard. So probably the most common attack from this position is the triangle, but it's always really good to shoot it up and really threaten it so the person gives you other openings. In order to get this triangle really on point, I want to make sure I have a strong pull and then a big hip lift here. Then I can lock it in from down. So I'm making sure that I'm lifting my hips with my foot on the shoulder and with my foot on the hip here. And then once I get high enough, my foot can come off of the shoulder and come across. I'm coming perpendicular to his spine with my shin right away. Pulling tight, framing, lift, leg perpendicular. Lock, and then I can readjust if I need to here. One more time. Making sure too here, he doesn't have that many options to defend if I can keep this hand off of my collar. And then when I'm ready, I move my foot from the bicep to the shoulder so I have a little bit like sturdier ground for my foot. Lift and shoot. So sometimes from the 2-on-1 here, your partner will drop down to this back knee in order to try to like row their arm back a little bit here. What I really like to do here is I'm going to come back to that shin on shin position here, drop down, and then because I have two hands on this arm, it's a great opportunity for an arm bar. Pulling and catching the arm. When I go for the shin on shin arm bar here, I'm making sure that I'm pulling his arm to me, but then when I lift my hips behind his shoulder, I'm really trying to shoot my butt close to his arm and connecting to like his upper body. So I drop, I'm not just gonna lift my hip here, I'm lifting my hip closer to it so that way I can pull in tight. And even in the roll, in the transition of the roll, you can pull his arm up to you to get it even tighter before he has a chance to really defend. So I'm here, I go shin on shin and I start to drop his knee as soon as I can. I'm lifting my hips, pulling his hand to me, and connecting my shin to the back of his neck to force him to roll all the way through. Here, here. As soon as I can like clear this space and drop his base, I'm immediately all the way through and finishing the arm bar. Another good way to think of this 2-on-1 position is it's basically just a super arm drag. So if I can come into the shin on shin, or if he has his knees on the ground, I have a free pass to his back if I'm smart about it. So if he has his knee up, I'm gonna catch this shin on shin and drop it and immediately sit up and reach for his hip. From here, if I need to, I can block his tricep, and then I'm gonna start scooting away and catching the back. It's really important when you go for that arm drag style position, I like to think about inflating my chest behind his tricep in order to close the space he would need to get his arm back in front of his center line. Here in this 2-on-1, I'm gonna catch the shin on shin, drag, and immediately I'm like puffing my chest out and closing all of that space, block if I need to, and then I start scooting back here. One more time. Making sure he can't grab my collar this whole time, or else I'm gonna get jammed up in this process, and then I'd probably need to re-break this grip here. Drag, catch, and start to scoot back for the back take. So one of the things that'll happen too when you're playing a really strong 2-on-1, your partner doesn't want to get pulled and doesn't want you to create any angles on them, so they drop to both knees. From here, you might have a hard time making space to the back. You might have a hard time like triangling because they're pulling their elbow in tight here. But what you have like a free pass to is a really strong butterfly sweep to this side. So from here, I'm gonna put my butterfly hook in, scoot in a little bit, making sure I'm keeping this grip tight to me, and then I'm gonna load up and fall into my left shoulder here. And come up on top. Again, the whole theme of this 2-on-1 grip is I don't want him gripping my collar. So I'm making sure I'm focused on that even in positions like this. He's staying tight, he's staying heavy, scoot in, and butterfly sweep through. Let's rotate here. Make this grip. I'm trying to off balance him, I'm trying to triangle, and he's just low and heavy. Sit up, fit my hooks in, and then I'm gonna do a little scoot. Fall onto my side, and elevate with that butterfly hook. The next chapter we're gonna cover here is playing with that same cross sleeve we had with the 2-on-1, but now with an underhook on the leg instead of that tricep grip. It's a great position to transition to when you're in this 2-on-1 and you can transfer onto this left hip here. I'm gonna let go of my left hand on this tricep and immediately start underhooking this far leg. And then from here, as long as I'm on my hip, I'm pretty safe. I have a ton of attacks from here and I can stay on the inside, and there's not much you can do to break my grips here. So we're gonna transition from this 2-on-1 to this underhook and cross sleeve position here. The main attack I'm looking for right off the bat is attacking this arm with an omoplata. So I'm gonna shoot up here, feed this sleeve to my underhook on the leg, straighten my legs out, and completely log roll until I land up on top, inside control. Let's go here. So I'm here, cutting this angle. If I need to, I'm gonna press on this shoulder to give me a really strong row on this sleeve and turn his shoulders. So that way this arm is even weaker and closer to me here. Then I'm bringing my hips up, catching, tucking this hand into my pocket, and then feeding it into this sleeve, extending my legs out and rolling here. If you can ever, in this position, get that arm straight and away from his hip and his ribs, always go for this. Always omoplata if you can. Like, in my opinion, there's no really better sweeping position than like a really strong omoplata. So I'm here. If his elbow is tight to his knee, I'm gonna push on this shoulder and row at the same time. Shoot my hip up, feed, and roll. Here. From here to finish and land inside control, I wanna make sure I keep control of his elbow so that way he can't turn into me. Then I can let go of my inside hand, bring it around, and start to frame on his body so that he doesn't bring his legs inside before I get time to come on the inside.